This is Sessions with Coach. I'm your flight instructor, Coach Gaines. Thank you for tuning in with streaming thoughts of consciousness from the mind and the experience of Coach. This session, I want to talk about brand name versus name brand. And when we hear it synonymously, brand name brand, but it's a difference. So what are we talking about? A brand is a marking for a product or a service. And the origin of branding came in the it came from ancient Egyptian era. This is Sessions with Coach. I'm your flight instructor, Coach Gaines. Thank you for tuning in with streaming thoughts of consciousness from the mind and the experience of Coach Gaines. This particular session, I want to talk about name brand versus brand name. And we hear brand name and name brand most of the times it's synonymous. It's one and the same. It identifies a particular product or a service. But it's much deeper than that. A brand really plays on the psyche of the consumer or the marketplace, and it identifies the product, or it's a point of distinction between one product or the next, or it is a guide or a signpost for a product's origin. So the practice of branding came from actually branding cattle, taking a fire branding, iron branding, and branding your horse or branding your cattle or your livestock so that people could know which farm it came from. And then that eventually evolved into a commercial, corporate style of branding, where now this may, it may cause a product to be distinct from another product in a competitive marketplace, or it can create the loyalty for the product so that the person knows how to find the product. But a typically a name brand or a brand name is just the difference is that a brand name is just the marking, the manufacturer's marking, the maker's marking. It identifies where this particular item came from. But a name brand is equity. A name brand is equity. So you may have an item that may not have much value just because it has a particular marking on it. But if that marking has history, or that marking has a story, or there's value in that marking that people can recognize, they can assume its quality. They know the artist, they know the event, the place and the time. Then now the name brand becomes equitable, and it's something that you can look to for value. And that's where a lot of us get confused, because we want to understand new product, and we come in contact with product and we say, oh, okay, the price tag is this, the name brand is that. So this is an automatic indicator that it's worth the value or is worth what it's costing. So it's very important that the brand or the business preserves and protects its brand name and creates a brand name that can cause the equity of the business to grow. Because the time in, when the business was established, all of this determines what something is worth or the value of it, or how much you can rely on it, the reliability of the service or the product, but nowadays people just look for the brand name. They got comfortable in the brand name. They got into blind following the brand name. And now the name brand becomes king. It becomes the social engineer. It becomes the manipulator. It's telling people, okay, you need to do this. It's telling people you need to do that. And that can be a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not saying this is a completely bad thing. We just need to know and understand what a brand is and what a brand name function is. Because like a lot of people say, I don't care about names. I don't need names. Names don't matter to me when it comes to what it is that I like or what it is that I need. So that's a pushback for the overemphasis on name brands, and everybody looking to make sure that it's the certain name brand that speaks to the culture, or there's a certain name brand that speaks to the status. But it all came from a service. It started off with the professionals. It started off with the users. And then through word of mouth, through good presentation, through good delivery, then you have a name recognition. And that's what creates the name brand over time and over its service. So you want to strive to be a name brand, but you don't want to deny yourself of branding. And a lot of us now, lately, we've been developing a lot of products as a community, and the label has been an afterthought, or a label has been, a painstaking, chore where you just want to get the product directly to the consumer. And because the consumer is now feeling like, you know what, I don't even need a name brand. I don't care about a name brand. Now people are now getting comfortable with delivering and not branding themselves while they're delivering, or branding themselves, as they're growing their business. So now as the business grows, nobody can look back and see how tall the skyscraper is to see the equity in it. You have your clientele, you have certain people. However, it's not necessarily a point of reference for people to come back to. And that's where a lot of small businesses are losing their return customer base. Or it's not allowing you to prove that, no, we've been in business for a long time, longer than your experience with us. And here's the branding, and here's the biography that proves that. All of that increases the value of what it is that you're selling. All of it. So I just wanted you to understand the history of branding. The history of branding was not necessarily affiliation. The history of branding was not to group people and cast, a prejudged thought, or to have a prejudgment about a particular group or particular consumer, or because a person likes a certain thing, this brand, they're branded by that. And it also comes with the names that we call each other, the names that we call our market, how we identify our goods, how we identify our marketplace, the location that our goods are in, the areas that our location in. All of that speaks to the brand and its value. It's real estate. Branding is real estate. It's real estate in the minds. So now we're experiencing it on social media because we're being advertised to. We're getting consistent messaging. We're seeing it. But this has been going on since the 1500s, before then, but commercially since the 1500s. But branding has been something that business owners and farm owners and mason builders, brick builders, architects, they've all been using this technique of branding because it's a signature for your work. So understand what branding is useful for, and understand where branding can be exaggerated. The branding of affiliation. Sometimes it does matter. Sometimes affiliations matter. That's good, but that can't be the end all be all. Because it's going to be a disservice to the user. If that's all you're placing your importance on, that's your priority when you're approaching the marketplace, when you're looking for new product, when you're looking to invest. A lot of buyers, they're looking for brand names, and the brands control them by this. They tell them when they can open. They tell them when they can't open. They tell them who they can sell to. They tell them who they can't sell to. They tell them what other brands they can bring in. They tell them what other brands they can't bring in. All of this is because they know that they have the buyer, they have the buyer under control because of the brand name. And they know that the customer is going to come to the store when they hear this name, or for the name brand. And the customer is going to come to the store when they hear this name. So you have to rise above that, and you have to have enough knowledge to be able to service your customer from your point of view. So if there's a brand if there's a brand name that doesn't have a particular supply, you need to be able to go to another one. And your customer needs to trust you and not feel disenfranchised, like you're trying to hit them with the bait and switch. And a lot of people do feel like that way. I came to this business for a brand, and then the brand isn't here no more. So I feel I feel a bit, taken advantage of, or, I'm disappointed at the very least. I'm disappointed. I'm coming back and I'm expecting to see this and I'm disappointed. And now it's not there. The buyer has to be able to replace that and supplement that. So understanding why a brand has its name can help you replace the brand. And sometimes it is what it is. People just want what they want for whatever reason they want it for, especially the youth, when it comes to their favorite characters or when it comes to their favorite, cartoons or toys or things like that. They'll want what they want. And sometimes companies can just put those items together and just service it that way, like a concert merch and things like that. So some things are connected to culture on a way deeper level, and that's the brand. So being keen and understanding what kind of brand you are, what kind of brand do you want to be, who do you want to service? Because now if your brand isn't consistent in its messaging, now when it's time for people to go back to this point of reference, they don't even remember why. So people have to remember why they liked you. So in the consistency of what you deliver and the consistency of what you offer is the repeat customer. So understanding how you want to approach the marketplace. Where do you want people to get this product at? That's a part of your brand. My brand rests in these areas. My brand rests in these neighborhoods. My brand rests in these type of stores, along with these type of services. You have to understand that, because all of that is a part of your branding, not just the details and the styles of your logo. And we put a lot of importance on our logo. And we say, okay, we could just put our logo on things. No. Even if you're just putting your logo on things, your point of view has to be keen, where now the brand supporters like, okay, I know they outsourced, but they knew what I needed to get through my particular situation, or they understood the trend enough. They knew when to jump on the trend, So this is what the people are following when they follow a brand, because they don't want to think about these things for themselves. They don't want to have to 100%, know how to maneuver and navigate, those scenarios. So they trust their brand. So, yeah, there is a bit of reliance on your brand, but complete blind following, that's what I see us doing in large crowds, in large numbers. We don't know why we like something. We like the attention that we get from it. So there's a place for that as well. But I just wanted to get us to understand what a brand was and the origins of brands. The origins of brands is for an owner to identify what he owns. That's the origin of it. If I have a cow, if I have a horse, livestock of anything of that nature, I have surplus supply, wood. I have to brand that so that now if it's, misplaced or if it's mixed in with other inventory, I'll be able to identify mine amongst the crowd. Branding is for distinction. And now if you want to take it a step better, if you keep distinguishing yourself consistently over a period of time for a service, how you deliver, now that's going to be the equity that your brand, that holds the value of your brand. So if there's an issue of inflation and you have to raise your prices, people understand that. They don't look at it like you're price gouging. They see the value that you're putting into the brand. They see you transferring value when you sell them your product. That's a good brand. That's good branding all the way around the board, from the aesthetics, from the logo, from how it's delivered. Good branding. But you don't have to be a famous name brand. You could just be a brand name. As long as your marking, your signature calls back to the point of reference, back to the origin, so that you can get the repeat customer. So it's two-pronged to this. And even if there's a scenario where you're not looking for fame, you're not looking for that notoriety, it happens by default with the consistency. So you don't switch your name up all the time. You keep the same one as long as you can. Like you keep the same phone number. I get in trouble with my friends all the time. Feek, you keep changing your phone number. But what does that do? It makes business fall off. Because the people need to call you when they need you. If the number's there, okay, your brand has a point of contact. That's consistent. So this is Sessions with Coach. I'm your flight instructor, Coach Gaines. Thanks for tuning in with us. Peace.